94 minutes, one swing of the boot, one moment of ice-cold brilliance from a substitute, and Germany's entire World Cup night transformed from catastrophic to triumphant. Deniz Undav, a man who wasn't even in the starting lineup, scored twice off the bench to rescue a stunning 2-1 comeback win over Ivory Coast in Group E. And let me tell you, if you weren't watching at Toronto Stadium last night, you missed one of the most emotionally charged games of this tournament. The question isn't just, how did Germany win? The real question is, why were they in such serious trouble in the first place? Welcome to SoccerVault. I'm breaking down every tactical twist, every controversy, and every moment of brilliance from this extraordinary match. Let's go. Now, before we get into the match itself, let me set the scene. Germany came into this game sitting on 3 points after that record 7-1 opening hammering of Curaçao. A win here would seal their place in the round of 32 with a game to spare. Simple enough, right? Wrong. Because Ivory Coast, a team that has never made the knockout rounds in their entire World Cup history across 4 appearances, were desperate, organized, and playing with nothing to lose. Coach Immers Faye had his side set up in a compact 4-4-2, pressing high, winning second balls, and making life extremely uncomfortable for a Germany side that often looked sloppy and disorganized in possession. This was never going to be the comfortable afternoon that Nagelsmann's team expected. Not by a long shot. Let me take you through the first half, because what Ivory Coast produced deserved a point, if not more. From the very first whistle, Germany's supposed superiority was nowhere to be seen. Havertz looked isolated up front, struggling to hold the ball under pressure. Musiala, usually so elusive, kept finding himself surrounded the moment he turned. And right in the engine room of Ivory Coast's midfield, Franck Kessié. The former AC Milan and Barcelona man was everywhere, winning headers, intercepting passes, driving forward with genuine authority. He is exactly the kind of player who makes a tournament press look tactically naive when you're not prepared for him. And then came the goal that sent the stadium and the watching world into absolute disbelief. 30 minutes in, Yan Diomande whipped a delivery in from the left flank. Amad Diallo's first attempt was blocked brilliantly by a German defender, but Kessié was right there, alert, hungry, perfectly positioned, and he stabbed the rebound into the back of the net from close range. Germany 0, Ivory Coast 1, in Toronto, at a World Cup. The Elephants, wearing the famous orange tee, had done it, and they deserved every single second of that lead. Germany's response in the first half was, honestly, panic. Nagelsmann shuffled his shape, tried to push men forward, and almost made things worse. The real turning point came after the break, but not before one of the most baffling chapters in recent World Cup refereeing. Germany had the ball in the net twice before finally pulling level. First, Nemecha turned and finished confidently, only to be penalized for a foul in the build-up. The replays? Incredibly soft. The kind of contact you see go unpunished 50 times a match. Then, Musiala thought he'd leveled, again, ruled out, again for a questionable foul. 2 goals chalked off. 2 moments where the German bench erupted in fury. Ivory Coast fans in the stadium were celebrating what felt like a match-winning advantage being protected by officials, and they had every right to feel that way. But here is where Nagelsmann showed exactly why he's one of the best coaches in the world. Instead of raging, instead of panicking, he made the call. On came Nadia Amiri. On came Deniz Undav. 2 substitutes, 2 players who would completely change the character of this match within minutes. 68 minutes. Amiri receives the ball out wide and picks up his head. He delivers a curling cross, perfect weight, perfect flight, into the area. Undav meets it with a controlled volley, first time, and it fizzes past the goalkeeper. 1-1. Germany alive. Undav raises his arms, the bench erupts, and suddenly Ivory Coast's dream is on borrowed time. Because when a player is that confident, that composed in front of goal, you know something else is coming. And then it did. Deep into stoppage time, 94 minutes on the clock, Felix Nmecha drives inside and drills a pass into Undav's feet. One touch to turn the defender, and then, boom, top corner, 2-1, Germany. That is number 10 for Undav in just 11 international appearances. The man is a goal machine, and he just became the hero of Germany's entire World Cup campaign. Now here is my hot take, and I want you to come for me in the comments if you disagree. Those two disallowed goals were scandalous decisions. I've watched both replays multiple times. The Nmecha contact on the first call? He barely brushes the defender. The Musiala foul? Even more puzzling, the kind of challenge that referees wave play on in every other match at this tournament. Ivory Coast played outstanding football tonight. They were the better team for 60-plus minutes. They pressed intelligently, created chances, and defended with genuine heart. But those two refereeing calls took what should have been one of the great World Cup upsets and turned it into a comeback story. Ivory Coast deserved better. Their players, their fans, their coaching staff, they gave absolutely everything and were ultimately undone by a striker with ice in his veins and two pieces of officiating that will be debated for a long time. Football can be brutal. Tonight, it was brutal to the Elephants. So what now for Group E? Germany are through, 6 points, qualified, and their final group game against Ecuador is essentially a dead rubber. Nagelsmann will rotate, give minutes to fringe players, and protect the likes of Musiala and Havertz for the knockouts. Meanwhile, in that same final round, Ivory Coast face Curaçao, a team that has lost both games and conceded 8 goals. On paper, the Elephants should handle it, but after tonight's roller coaster, no one in their camp is taking anything for granted. If Ivory Coast win and Ecuador cannot beat Germany, the Elephants advance to the round of 32 for the very first time in their history. That would be a moment this tournament deserves. Watch this space. If you made it this far, smash that like button, subscribe to SoccerVault, and drop your take in the comments right now. Were those disallowed goals the right calls? Did Germany get away with one tonight? Or does Undav's composure deserve every bit of the credit? This channel lives and dies by your engagement. Every debate, every disagreement, every fiery comment makes SoccerVault what it is. Subscribe, hit the bell, and we will see you for the next one. The 2026 World Cup is not slowing down.